and welcome to another tutorial. My name is Henry Bakshi, and this time we're going to be going over how to use Alamofire in Swift. So let's begin. Now first of all, what is Alamofire? Basically, Alamofire is a simple networking library for Swift. It works with iOS, watchOS, tvOS, and Mac OS X. And so you know what, that's really going to be all it for this little whiteboard part. But just before I go, I'd just like to say that this is a part 2 to the earlier Alamofire video that I had created, and so essentially this time I'm going to be showing to you how exactly you can use Alamofire the real way, and of course I'm going to be showing you exactly how you can incorporate Synchronous Alamofire into this as well. Alright, so just before we go though, one last thing I'd just like to show you, asynchronous versus synchronous. Now usually when you make a URL request with something like NSData, what you're doing is basically, let's just say that this is your application over time, and this is the execution. Okay, so let's just say this, and so your application is going forward, right? The UI and everything, UI, stuff like that is getting updated over time while it's being executed. Now, basically, let's say you were to call a request with NSData. What would happen is NSData would come into play here, and so basically this would, NSData would run on this little block here. And so essentially what would happen is the UI would get blocked and everything else would, and only NSData would run on this thread. And so the problem with this is that the fact that, you can't really update the UI or do anything here. So now what Alamofire does for you by default is that it actually creates an entirely, if I erase this, what happens is Alamofire, what it does is it creates an entirely new block, right? And so this is called asynchronous programming, because now the UI and all the other sort of main program stuff is running on this block here, and the NSL or the Alamofire request is running in this block here. Alright, so now again, this is called asynchronous programming versus synchronous programming. Of course, though, if you just like to create this sort of little test application, and you just want to, use synchronous programming to just, quickly retrieve something from a URL, then I'm going to be showing you another library that Dalad has made. And so basically what that allows you to do is send this Alamofire request back to the main thread here, or main block. That'll continue, that'll do its stuff, and then the UI can continue. And that's sort of how this is going to work. So now, let's get straight over to the Mac part, where I'm going to be showing you how exactly you can use Alamofire and Alamofire Synchronous in Swift. Let's get to it. So, welcome back to the Mac part, and now I'm going to be showing you exactly how you can implement Alamofire and Alamofire Synchronous into your Xcode projects. Let's begin. So now, first of all, let's just open up Xcode over here. And as you can see, basically, there is, of course, the launch screen. I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to call this Alamofire example YouTube. I'm going to make this in Swift, and the device is going to be for iPhone. I'm going to click on Next, put this in the iOS directory on my desktop here, and let's begin. So now, first of all, let's install the Alamofire framework into the Xcode project itself. So now, first of all, what you need to do is go over to your terminal. Okay. Then go over to your favorite browser and type in CocoaPods. Now, inside CocoaPods, inside the website, you're going to see this little command over here, sudo gem install CocoaPods. You want to run this to install CocoaPods, and once you're done, you need to run the command in your terminal. I'm going to make this a bit bigger for you. You're going to need to run something called pod setup. Once that's done, though, just navigate to your application directory. Alright, so here, what you need to do is say nano pod file.
Now, Nano is a directory. You could use Vim if you wanted to. And so essentially, I'm creating a file called pod file. And so the pod file contains the pods that we need to install. And so basically what we're going to do is I'm going to tell it to install something called Alamofire. And in order to do that, I'm going to go to the Alamofire GitHub repository, which there will be a link to in the description. If we go down here, as you can see, there's a way to install this with CocoaPods. So just copy this pod file script and paste it into your terminal. Alright, and then whatever you name the application, in this case I've named it Alamofire example YT, so I'm going to copy that. Okay, and then I'm going to go back here, and where it says target, your target name, I'm going to delete your target name, and I'm going to paste in the actual target name. Then the pod for Alamofire is great. The platform, iOS 9, sounds great there. And that's going to be it for the pod file. So now if you say Control X, now this is just for Nano, Control X to exit, say yes to save, Enter to actually save. Alright, then you just need to run something called pod install. Now, I'm sure that most of you know these steps. I'm just going over them. Pod install will install the pod, installing Alamofire into our project. As you can see, it's going to install, and then as you navigate into the project directory over here, and then open up the workspace, not the Xcode project, the workspace, open the workspace, and in just a second, you should see and we have a workspace. Now, again, you want to use the Alamofire example YT Xcode project in order to develop your application, and now you can incorporate Alamofire into your code. Let's begin with a simple example, shall we? Essentially, what we're going to do is, first of all, let's import Alamofire. And then let's say we wanted to sort of download some, let's say, JSON, alright? Or not JSON, let's just say we wanted to download the contents of Google.com. Essentially what I'd do is I'd say, first of all, function download Google, okay? And now I'm going to actually send an Alamofire request. So if I build, first of all, as you can see, there's a second it's building. And as you can see, the error is and in just a second it says build succeeded. So now what I can do is, now a very simple way to get something from Alamofire, or download something, is to say Alamofire .request, and then there are a few methods. Either you can go with the full sort of customizable method, or the function where you can specify the method, the URL string, the parameters, the encoding, the headers, and stuff like that, or just the URL request, like the URL, like the NSURL request, or the method and the URL string. In this case, I'm going to go for the simplest one, the method and URL string. So I'm going to go .get as the method. I'm not going to post to Google, I just want to get Google. And the URL string is going to be https://www.google.com. And then I'm going to go tab, that will finish this up. And now let's say we wanted to get a response as a string. Okay, so I just say response string, enter, it'll give me completion handler, enter, it'll fill that up, and then I can set the response to, let's say, Alamofire response. And then the code inside of this completion handler, I can say, for example, Alamofire response dot response, or result, sorry, dot result dot value. Okay, so now this is the actual value. I'm going to forcefully unwrap this and print it out. And as you can see, in theory, if I add this function to view to load in download Google, now if I run this application on the simulator, as you can see, in just a second, it should work. Let's test this out. As you can see over here, it prints out exactly what it sees on Google.com. Now let's say we wanted to use a bit more of a real example here. Now let's say I were to go over to You know what, just give me 1 second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a simple JSON file, actually, using Alamofire. So if I go into my GoDaddy server here, I go to my web hosting, manage it. As you can see, just give me 1 second, I might speed up a bit. Alright, now, file manager, plus file, I'm going to call this Alamofire test.json, create a new file, I'm going to open it up, hit the code editor. And as you can see, I'm going to give it some simple JSON like name, Tanner Bakshi, age 12. Alright, or I can actually give it 12. Alright, I'm going to close this bracket, and if I save it, that should save to my website. Now all I need to do is change the link over here to just http://www.tannerbackshi.com/alamofire-test.json. Let's see here, and as you can see, yes, this is called alamofire-test.json. And now what we need to do is go into the info.plist, open this up as source code, alright, and then add in the NS app transport security workaround. Essentially what I'm doing right now is I have actually given it the URL, as you can see in this viewcontroller.swift, as an HTTP, but Swift will require an HTTPS, meaning a secure protocol. And so the problem is that I don't have one of those secure protocol certificates. And so Swift is going to say, you know what, I cannot connect to this URL. However, if I go into my info.plist, and there's going to be some code down in the description, and if I paste it in here, alright, if I run this application now, it should, theoretically, allow me to skip that security check. And immediately, as you can see here, the response in JSON. That's going to be it for the Alamofire portion of this tutorial. But now, let's say you wanted to do a synchronous request. Essentially what you could do is use this other CocoaPod that, as I said, Delod has made. It's called Alamofire plus Synchronous, and it allows you to create synchronous requests for Alamofire. So let's say I copied this pod command here, pod file. As you can see over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it in with the other pod. If I do Control X, save, right, and if I run pod install once more, as you can see, it'll install the new pod. And then what I can do is, inside of my Xcode project, I can also import Alamofire Synchronous. See if that's okay. As you can see, no errors. And then never mind. If I clean build. Alright, no errors. Now all I need to do is, in order to make a synchronous request, is run alamofire.request. And as you can see, I'm going to do essentially .get, and of course the URL. Copy it, paste it here, ask for a response string. Alright, and now this time you don't want to include any parameters in this function, just response string. And then you want to go, you can immediately just go .result.value, and then you can of course print this out. Alright, so now, in theory, as you can see, there are no completion handlers, and so now this will call, with Alamofire, you know, it's simple to use, syntax of Alamofire, except it should, theoretically, work in a synchronous manner. And as you can see, it did work. And that's going to be it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. Again, thank you very much. And if you did enjoy, you might want to consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. It really does help out. And of course, you can leave a like down below if you did enjoy the video. Again, of course, share it with your friends who you think might enjoy it or learn from it. You can also leave any comments, suggestions, or feedback down in the comment section below. You can email it to me at tadumani@gmail.com, Twitter at tadumani, and of course, all these contact links will be down in the description below. All the links will be in the description and the source code too. And that's going to be it for this tutorial. Thank you very much. Goodbye.